Hello everybody, and welcome back to the Star Wars Expanded Universe. Now redubbed by Disney, current Lucasfilm, whatever way you slice it, Legends. I said this before in a previous review, but I kind of said that in like a couple reviews, and now I've kind of just made it a thing that I say every time. It's weird. Anyway, coming off of my favorite book so far of the New Jedi Order, Traitor, which was a super personal, very character-driven, very character study, a very dialogue-heavy book about Jason and his capture with the Yusong Vong, we move on to book number 14, titled Destiny's Way by Walter John Williams. It's a peculiar name, considering that we have another John Williams, correct? Unless I'm getting the name, unless I'm getting composers incorrect, who did the music for Star Wars. So this is interesting. But for non-spoilers, I'm trying to think how to. So Jason comes back with Verge, whatever I've been saying, Vergie. I was saying Vergie. I honestly don't know how to pronounce names, so maybe you can correct me in the comment section below. But yeah, we have them coming back. Everyone realizes it. Because I'm trying to know what I can tell you without spoiling it. We have Vong War here. We have the Supreme Lord Shimra in this book. Did I mention Vong War, Nominor? All of them are back. All the Yusong Vong peoples. Stuff happens with Vong War in this book, though. We'll get to that in spoilers. Jason and Jaina get reunited. Jason and his parents get reunited. Everyone gets to see Jason again. Luke gets introduced to Vergie, whatever it's pronounced to be. They have a lot of conversations together, and it's always super fascinating. As it is a different author, I'm still surprised by how consistent the character's written to be a certain way, and I love Vergie. I'm just going to say Vergie. I think that's the way other people are pronouncing it. I could be wrong. I've been saying Vergie the whole time. Actually, I'm going to say Vergie, and if it's wrong, go poop yourself. But, yeah, every time they talk, super fascinating and interesting. We have a big battle near the end, which I can't really get into spoilers about, because this is the non-spoiler section. So, well, how do you even... I don't know. I'm having trouble. I feel like I gotta talk about stuff to really explain stuff in this book. But I can say without a shadow of a doubt that this was a worthy addition to the New Jedi Order series. I really enjoyed it. Not as much as Traitor. I don't think I'm going to enjoy any books in here as good as Traitor. Maybe I'll be proven wrong, but I don't think I will, because that was... not even in Star Wars. I think it's one of... Maybe it's because of Star Wars, though, that the book is so good. Like, you have to have knowledge of that universe. But I just loved it from beginning to end. So it's kind of hard to top. But this was still really good. So I guess that's all I'm going to say. I'm going to get into spoilers. And I'm sorry I was super vague and didn't really give you a synopsis for the book. Though, of course, you can always look it up when you're looking it up on Amazon or whatever. If you Google it, it will give you some sort of summary. Maybe I should have just wrote the summary down. I don't know. I thought I'd be able to do it by memory, but there's just too much to talk about. And I'm not having a good time trying to figure out how to tell you about it non-spoilerly. So if you don't want spoilers, it's time to get out. But let me just rest assured. Even though I give you barely nothing for what the story is about, it is well worth your time. Actually, I think it's very important. I don't think it's like a skippable one, like Enemy Lines kind of is. Like, Enemy Lines is good, but you could relatively skip that and not miss too much. But this one's actually really important. But anyway, so that's what I'll say. Go buy it. If you're 13 books in and you just got off a Traitor or whatever, it's up next and it's really good and you need to read it because this entire series is good. In fact, why are you even watching these? Go freaking watch. Oh my gosh, I'm having a brain fart. Read the entire series and then come back here and listen to me ramble. But it's worth your time. Every single one of them. Alright? Go do it. Alright, you ready? Spoiler time. So, the first thing that really happens here, Leia's trying to meet up with Captain Pelion, or sorry, I should say Grand Admiral Pelion, of what is left of the Empire, because they're trying to get passage into this, what was it called? I should have wrote it down. There's this sort of place in space that the Empire would use to get around stuff. And they want to, and the New Republic wants to use that against the Yusung Vong. So, though of course, we also have Pelion. You know, he's a good guy, and he wants to help them, but at the same time, he wants stuff in return. He wants to help liberate, you know, planets, but whatever planets they liberate, he wants to keep as his own. Which I really love. I love Pelion as a character. I think he's one of the greatest characters in the expanded universe. I warmed up to him almost immediately in the Thrawn trilogy. You know, of course, he can't hold a candle to Thrawn, but as his own character, I think he's really great. And I love how he views things so significantly differently than Leia. Like, you even see that when you're, like, listening to Leia's thoughts. She's like, oh, just when you think this guy's, like, an amazing guy, he has to start speaking about his politics and how he thinks the world should be run, and she's, like, super annoyed by it. But I don't know. I would do anything for Mr. Pelion. I'd work for him, because his belief in the government that he thinks should be run is really cool. And I also love how, I guess, honorable he is. He has a set of beliefs, and he's going to tell you what those beliefs are. And he's going to tell you how he feels, whether you agree with it or not. But he's also willing to be super helpful, and he's just overall a good guy. And I like that about him. That was a huge spiel on Pelion, but I really love Pelion. And every time he shows up, I get really happy. I love seeing him. Oh my gosh. We get Vergi's backstory, alright? Verge, whatever. We get her backstory here. Which is so freaking crazy. I have not read the prequel era yet, but we will do a rewind when I'm done with everything, once I'm done with the Legacy comics. We'll do a rewind to the very beginning with, you know, Dawn of the Jedi and stuff, which the novel, we'll see if I enjoy that or not. I'll be a first if I do, apparently. And then we'll move all the way up until we get to what we've already gone over here. And then I'll probably read it over again, but just by myself, not taking notes. But the crazy thing is that she's been around since the prequel era, right? And she goes on a mission. Now, I haven't read Rogue Planet. So either the events that she talks about here happened before Rogue Planet or happened during Rogue Planet. I'm not sure. But that's an adventure with Obi-Wan and Anakin. Those events, though, the events that make her leave with the Yusung Vong for over 50 years, lead to Outbound Flight. This big thing talked about in the Thrawn trilogy. At least if I'm understanding correctly, because the events that go on that planet sends out this ship, the Outbound Flight. Again, I haven't read it yet. And all the events with Thrawn and Palpatine and Jorah Sabaoth, and all that comes to a head because of that initial event. So many things get set up for future stuff due to Vergie, which is just crazy to me. But yeah, it was really interesting to hear how she went about finding the Yusung Vong and becoming a part of them and joining them. And it was just crazy to learn all about that. So it was a really good scene to read. So the Yusung Vong have an itch going on. So I just wrote itch, Jason, ? Because in the last book, Jason said he did something that would mess it up forever. And so it apparently gave them all an itch that they can't get rid of. Which is a continual problem because it just spreads and spreads and spreads. Oh, I remember this. I think my father had a special destiny. Verge, time and time again, says that Jason has a special destiny. But that's what everyone said about Anakin Skywalker, too. You know, we had this whole prophecy about the chosen one, and he was going to save the day. He's going to bring balance to the Force. And he did. He had a crazy destiny, a special destiny. And yet Vergie, whatever, keeps telling Jason that he has a special destiny too. And we have future events where I just go, oh no. But yeah, the Luke and Vergie discussion, that was amazing. You have Luke with his whole idea of the light side and the dark side. And Vergie with what she thinks. It was even crazy because there's a part where she talks about how she does not approve of the fact that his new Jedi Order is allowed to have kids because she's afraid of a Jedi dynasty, which I just thought was super interesting. We get to see Akbar again. For those of you who haven't read most of my Bantam era reviews, whenever Akbar has been in it, I have said time and time again, while technically he's a movie character, he's one of my favorite EU characters. I mean, he's kind of just a fish face in the movies, right? But in the EU, he gets expanded upon, and Akbar has always been one of my favorites, at least of the Bantam era. I absolutely loved him. I loved him in the Black Fleet Crisis. I loved him in the Jedi Academy trilogy. I loved him. Anytime he showed up, I loved him. Also, shout out to RK Outpost and Matt Wilkins. I did get some weird vibes going on with Winter and Akbar. Winter, are you having an affair? Because there are some specific scenes in here that are a little weird, to say the least. If you listen to the way that it's talked about, I don't know, man. I don't know what Winter's doing with Akbar, but look, you read the book. There are some sentences in here that are just weirdly worded, and just things that she does. She puts her feet into the water that he's in and rests her hands on his shoulder. Now remember, he's in the water, so I'm assuming he's not wearing clothes, besides maybe something here. So it's just naked fish boy, and she's just resting her hand on it. I don't know. It just seemed like a very intimate thing to do. It's a fan theory. They're having an affair. I want some old fish tonight. I don't know. That was weird. There's no evidence of that, really. But there's just some weirdly worded sentences here. Not that I'm judging. If you want to date a fish, you date a fish. That's on you. But he's also super old, so. But no, I love seeing Akbar again. Akbar's just as smart as he's ever been. Of course, he's getting older now, and he's apparently already pretty old during the original movies. So he's not able to be in the forefront like he used to be. But he still wants to help because that's who Akbar is. The Jedi Council finally gets reestablished. It's a different kind of Jedi Council than we saw in the prequels, but we do have a new one, which is interesting. The knighting scene. The entire scene. Luke has something to say to almost every single one of them. To almost every single young Jedi Knight. Zek and Loie and Tino Ka and Tahiri and Jason and Jaina. He has almost that rat-looking thing from Star by Star. He has something to say to all of them. And it's something personal and unique to all of them. except for what he says to Jaina. And I wrote it down on the back because I figured it was important enough to read. So I don't know if this is word for word, but it's pretty close to what he apparently didn't even mean to say to Jaina Solo. I name you the sword of the Jedi. You are tempered steel, purposeful and razor keen. Always you shall be in the front rank, a burning brand to your enemies, a brilliant fighter to your friends. Yours is a restless life, and never shall you know peace, though you shall bring peace to others. Take comfort that while you stand tall and alone, others take shelter in the shadow you cast. What an epic speech for Jaina. Which leads me to the sadness that as of now, unless things change with Disney and stuff, I don't ever get to see that Sword of the Jedi trilogy that takes place after Crucible. I would have loved to. I have to say, at the moment, I find Jacen to be the most compelling character, only because of Matthew Stover's book. But Jaina still has so much more room to grow and stuff to happen to her. Heck, the next huge big story arc, Legacy of the Force, I can only imagine. But the Sword of the Jedi. Which my next note about that actually was, this seems to contradict Verji. Oh, right, I have something to talk about after that, which will be sort of kind of spoilers for Legacy of the Force. I haven't actually read it yet, but I know some things that I didn't know before because I watched some reviews of this book and Trader, and people spoiled it for some reason. So I didn't mean to, but I want to hear other people's thoughts, because I need more of this. I already finished it, and I have no one to talk to because no one else cares. So I need to hear somebody else talk about this amazing book. So that's right. But we'll talk about that at the far end. But it seems to contradict Verji, because the way Verji has described the Force is that it's not light or dark. It's just nature. It just is. It doesn't tell you to do anything. You just are. Whatever. If you're dark, you are dark. If you're light, you are light. But that's all in here. The Force isn't doing anything to you. But that can't be true. Luke doesn't even know why he said that. According to the book, the Force made that come out of him. The Force made him say that. So the Force very clearly has some sort of agenda. Knows the future is some benevolent force, perhaps. But it's not passive. It's not a just nature, like, Verge implies. At least, unless I'm overthinking this or I'm missing something, Luke had no intention of saying that. And he whispered basically his little speeches to every single one of them individually. He said that out loud to everyone. It was as if the Force had possessed him for a second to say that. So that seems to contradict Verge's philosophy. But the next thing that happens is actually, and I didn't mention this in non-spoiler, probably should. I don't have too much to say about it, but the short story Elysia, or Elysia, whatever the freaking name of the planet is. The planet from Paradise Snare. The Han Solo trilogy by A.C. Crisburn. It is a short story that takes place in between chapter 21 of Destiny's Way and chapter 22. So you'd finish chapter 21, you'd read this short story, and then read the rest of the book. As non-spoiler as possible, since it is a short story, Elysia is obviously a big part of that short story. And Thraken Sal Solo has a big part to play in that short story. That'll be about all I say for that. Now, I will say for Thraken, I really, really love his character. I think he's a horrible person, but I love his character. I think he's one of the better villains that we had in the Bantam era. I think, you know, obviously no one can compare to Thrawn. Thrawn was the bad guy. But I think a lot of people crap on the Corellian trilogy for really no reason. I really liked Thraken as a bad guy, and it was good to see him again here. Anyway, but continuing on with the main book, that's all for my non-spoiler. If you want spoilers, go watch someone else or go read the short story that's really short, so you should just do it. The New Republic, with the help of the Chiss, have apparently been working on a bioweapon that would kill all of the Vong. And this upsets Jason, this upsets Verge, this upsets Luke, this upsets basically everyone who knows about it. That is, you know, like a Jedi. Because while, you know, the Yusong Vong have been horrible, you know, most of these people, you know, it's because of their religion and because of the government that is in control of them. But the race itself is not inherently evil. It's just a society that they live in. And the New Republic is like, we have a way to just wipe them out from the face of existence, and we don't have to deal with them anymore. And I, even before the characters were releasing, I was like, what? Don't use it. That's really messed up, because there's winning the war because you have to, because they're going to attack you and stuff. And then there's using a biological weapon that will eventually, like, weed every single living being of the Yusong Vong out of existence. And that is just wrong, and it was crazy, that Jason, I thought about it, you know, Jason could have done something similar, I'm assuming, when he was on, in Traitor, but, you know, he still values life, you know, he's the gardener, he decides what will live, what will die, and he just decided to give them a little itch to irritate them. I mean, it isn't a legit problem, like, it's happening everywhere, so they have to do something about it, but he didn't want to wipe out an entire species. Slippery Nominor. I swear, Nominor gets away every single time. Almost every single time something happens, he gets out of it. I also love Nominor because he's so un-Vaughn-like. He spent so much time with the humans that I feel like he can't really relate to the Yusong Vong. I mean, I think he still holds some of the religious, you know, prejudices, like he hates technology and stuff, but he's just nothing like them. He doesn't care about honor. He doesn't care about glory. He finds out that the plan failed, and he's like, well, I guess I'm going to leave. I just slashed this thing into my freaking old teacher's head. Maybe he'll survive. I don't know, but that sucks. I liked him, but, you know, numero uno, I got to make sure I survive. So, I don't know, I really like Nominor too. I like that he's been around for basically almost all the books. And I love that he's just different from the other Yusong Vong because of how long he's been out in this galaxy. Here's an interesting thing. So in the final battle of the book, Jason's kind of cornered. And he gives into that anxiety, that despair, that anger. And what does he do? He uses Force Lightning yet again. He uses Force Lightning on the Yusong Vong, which is a dark side power. Now, I know there is technically a light side version of this that will be introduced later, so that way Luke can electrocute things and stuff. But that's not it. What he just did was a dark side power. And I'm seeing similarities. I haven't read a lot of prequel era material. I've read a bit, and I will do all of it when I go back in time after I finish, as I said. But there's always been a thing with Anakin Skywalker. And you can even just talk about the 2003 Clone Wars series. And even if you wanted to count the 2008 one, you notice that Anakin, when he thinks it's for the greater good and thinks it can help his friends, he'll tap into it. He'll just do it. He'll use it because it gets the job done. And why not? He's the chosen one. He can resist it. He can resist the darkness. Anakin in the 2003 one, he uses the darkness. And then he becomes, I think right afterwards, he becomes a knight. Or something like that. You know, he gets congratulated. So maybe it is good to use the dark side sometimes, if it's for the greater good. 2008 Clone Wars, I don't exactly remember the episode. Something was happening. I think it might have been to Ahsoka. And he was pissed. You know, regardless of how you feel about the 2008 Clone Wars. And what does he do? He goes into an interrogation room, makes sure that, you know, no one can see what he's doing, and he starts choking this alien till he gets what he needs. Because it's for the greater good. It's to help his friend. But the more and more and more he used it, the more susceptible he was to it, the more easy it was for in episode 3 for Palpatine to ensnare him. So here we go, with, at least as far as my knowledge, second time now, I'm holding 3, second time that Jacen has now used a dark side ability. Now, I've heard some complaints from some fans that Legacy of the Force ruins this series. I don't know about that. I'll have to read it for myself. But I see this as another glimpse as to a possibility of what might happen in the future. I don't know why I stuck on this so long, but I think there are plenty of logical connections to go. This is why this person here goes to this place here in another series. But that's just me. I'll see if I'm proven wrong when I read Legacy of the Force. But next note, Vergi dies, saving Jacen. And I'm going to talk about her at the very end before I end this video. She sacrifices herself for him. Now, you know, she talked about knowledge and compassion. And he had the knowledge, but his compassion for Jaina led him to go there. Even though ultimately, he didn't really help her. She saved herself. And yet, Verge's compassion led her to save Jacen's life. Just thought was super interesting. And then she had a Force Ghost moment with him. Which was, I don't know exactly what that was. Maybe it was just a voice. But it sucks that she's gone so soon. I enjoyed her character. It's like having Thrawn die in book 3 of the Thrawn trilogy. It's like, yeah, you're a bad guy, but I want more of you. And my final note, Jaina Solo finishes off for good. Has Vong War chopping off his head. Or, that might not have been, was it chopping off his head? Something around the head. But, it's good to finally have him gone. Now we move on to whatever next happens. Though I did hear at the very end of the book, there was a little tiny conversation about changing it from the New Republic to Galactic Alliance or something like that. Maybe we'll find out more about that in the next couple books. You'll have to wait and see. Now, if you don't want spoilers for even later series, even though I don't know anything specifically really, because I haven't read it yet, but there is some stuff that I've learned that I wanted to address because people say it makes it a problem here or that it contradicts this. I don't think so. But if you don't want that, I will say without a doubt, I love this book, not as much as Traitor, but it was a super good read, and I can't wait for the next one, and I will see you next time. For those of you who stick around, know that this is a future series I'm about to talk about, not New Jedi Order. I'm going to Legacy of the Force with only a small little thing to talk about. Final warning. Okay. Which I'm really, really, really upset that I learned about this before actually reading it. Verge is, or at least was, a Sith. And people say this somehow ruins Verge's character. That it basically gratifies everything that Luke said about her. But I disagree. For 2 reasons. One, and this can be a controversial statement, I have always believed that Palpatine, in the prequels, before the original movies, was the closest thing to a gray Jedi. Yes, he definitely leaned dark side. He was doing stuff for the dark side. He was a Sith Lord. But he also says in the movie, in episode 3, that he has learned about everything and how he thinks it's not good for Anakin to not learn all sides of things. Which implies that he studied a lot of the light. He studied a lot of the dark. And it's only in the original movies where he draws upon that darkness over and over that kind of just consumes him. Now, you might disagree with me entirely on that. But Verge, just because she might have been one during the Old Republic, may have been a potential Padawan or whatever, apprentice to Sidious, I do not think ruins the character. Because I think that there's two options here. She just has a different view on things. You can still be a Sith Lord and still be or be Sith oriented, but still have a different way of viewing things than other people did. Not every Sith thought the same. We'll see that in Legacy comics, where they integrate the one Sith instead of the always two there are, like Bane did. There are different philosophies even within that thing. So she might have just been the most liberal about everything. Somewhere in between. Again, I'd say she's a lot like the character from KOTOR 2. I forget her name. But the old lady. Kreia or something like that. Not really dark, not really light. I mean, yeah, the things that she does kind of leans toward dark, but her philosophy, the way she talks about stuff, is not even really either of those genres. And I think you also have to take into account that regardless of whether she was truly the best Jedi or secret trying to be a Sith, the fact of the matter is that she lived with the Yusong Vong for 50 years. That can really change how you view a lot of things. So unless I see something in Legacy of the Force that directly contradicts everything she's talked about here, you know, in her whole ambiguity sort of way, I don't see how that's really, really an issue, or how it really ruins anything. But I guess we'll see when we get to Legacy of the Force books. But that's pretty much all I have to say. I don't know, I feel like I should defend, I'm trying to defend a book series I haven't even read yet, but it just seems really stupid to complain about that. But regardless, I mean, I'm sure it'll be better than the sequels. So anyway, I hope you guys enjoyed this video. For those of you who stuck around for all this, assuming I didn't want to ruin anything for you. I hope you enjoyed this video. If you did, give a thumbs up. Showing up a ton. Thank you all for sticking around. 141 now. Like, you guys are amazing. Thank you. I enjoy making these videos. I hope to have a job soon, which if I do, would put a damper on these videos coming out as frequently as they do. But that'd be good though, because then I could, you know, like, move out of my parents' home, get an apartment, get better camera, and actually do actually do an actual setup, have, you know, not just this is the background, actually have like a set, sort of, not like a set, but kind of like what RK Outpost does, have something like that as the background and a better camera, not my phone, to do these reviews for you. And then maybe I could start doing gaming videos if anybody's interested in that, like Republic Commando, KOTOR 1 and 2, Battlefield. I'd be down. Not the new ones. I'm talking about the old ones. But yeah, just appreciate all the subscribers. Appreciate you guys watching. I know these videos are long, but yeah, I'll see you guys in the first book in the Force Heretic trilogy of the New Jedi Order. See you then.